Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Cast episode 130, the UK Games Expo Preview 2023.
Woo-hoo!
I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm Sid Gill. There was no Andy. I can't deal with stuff like that. Don't change things on me.
And I am Rory Summers.
As is confused Sid, Andy can't make this episode, so we're flying without him. But obviously, Sid's not used to his emotional support scouser.
Well, you know how they say if you change a step on a staircase by just a few millimetres, people fall over it. Yeah. That's what's just happened there. I'm so used to the standard rhythm of Andy being after you. I was waiting for Andy to say, I'm Andy Lewis. And he didn't appear.
No, he didn't.
Well, he's on a plane to Spain at the moment because he's got to give a training session. He's really grumpy about it. It's brilliant. Assuming
Ryanair actually got on it wherever he was getting on at.
Yeah.
It didn't look like fun.
No, it didn't. Anyway, yes, we are doing our UK Games Expo preview. This is where we tell you about all the things we're excited for about this year's UK Games Expo, which is happening at the Birmingham NEC from Friday the 2nd of June to Sunday the 4th of June, 2023. We will be there. Not only will we be there wandering the halls like our usual lost sheep selves, getting overwhelmed by everything, we will also be doing a live podcast.
Yeah, we will.
So that is on Saturday morning, 10 till 11, at the NEC Piazza 4, which has also been labelled the Dice Room.
Okay.
You don't need to book a ticket for it, which is probably a good thing. Yeah. I think knowing how many people are going to turn up before we start would actually depress us, I think. So yeah, you don't need to get a ticket. You just need to turn up, although there is a page for it, which we'll link to in the show notes on the UK Games Expo page. So if you're using the UK Games Expo app, I think you can add it to your schedule. You can make a little schedule and it'll give you a diary of things. So it can have you a little reminder. Saturday morning, 10 a.m.
We'll be there.
We'll be there to talk our usual nonsense.
Yeah, come and say hello.
I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but we'll sort that out on the day. No doubt we'll have some.
We're probably going to talk about what we did the previous day.
I think I'm probably talking about how tired I am. My feet hurt.
Let's hope you're not having that. We're not having that discussion at 10 o'clock Saturday morning.
I will be. I'm an old man now.
Okay.
You got to remember, me and Sid only went to one day last year.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And we were banjaxed after that one day. Now, I don't know if that's because we only had one day. We tried to cram as much stuff as we possibly could into that day. But I think Sid's right. I think we're turning into old men now.
I'm pretty sure I might need to get an extra cushion for my chair or something like that.
Bring a cushion with you. Brilliant.
Maybe that's part of our UK Games Expo advice. You know, the usual thing is comfortable shoes,
shorts,
bring some shorts to keep your legs cool. You know, bring some bottled water. Maybe the next one is bring a cushion.
Cushion.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're feeling particularly courteous, bring some breath mints.
And deodorant.
Breath mints and deodorant's always a good shout as well, because you're going to be in proximity to complete strangers. So it's polite to not stink.
I'd also say possibly even some hand wash as well.
Yeah, a little hand sanitizer, yeah.
And I mean, I would say that from like this, post-COVID world. I'd also say that because the hand dryers in the NEC stink to high heaven. I don't know what that smell is, but it's a very distinctive smell. I've never smelled anything like it before or since.
Well, shall we move on from talking about bad smells at the UK Games Expo and let's talk about some board games at the Board Games Expo?
Yes. Well, it's a bit behind the curtain, folks. Hermione Granger here,
hello,
girly SWAT, teacher's pet, has done like loads of work. And so me and Sid are left thinking, oh, hang on, what are we going to talk about? So this may end up being the Rory cast, but hopefully me and Sid can pass on some information that's of use to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we can ask questions of Rory, who can then steer us in the right direction, because he's done all the work. So quite frankly, right, it would be a shame for all of his hard work to be spent only on himself. He should be helping us out.
Okay, yeah, we could go with that. But Sid, in the preamble, you did say that there are some things that you do want to look at.
Well, that's a very nice segue, Rory.
Thanks, very
much. You set them up, I'll come down, right? Okay, no, you're quite right, because what I said to you, the preamble was, I kind of know what I want to go and see and the kinds of things I want to go and see, but what I have absolutely no idea of is names and where they'll be and all that kind of stuff. All the hard work that you've done,
Right.
really, is I'm gonna use you as some kind of font of all knowledge here.
Right. So if you're about to say to me, Sid, I'd like to look at some board games, I might come and slap you.
Well, no,
You
that would
might
be
need to be
unfair.
more specific.
That would be a bit cheeky. I'm not last year, Sid. This is this year, Sid. This is 2023, Sid. He knows now what a board game is, right? I'm coming into year 2 of my YTS apprenticeship here, right? So I'm going to say to you, the kind of game I want to play is I want something with a little bit of theming,
Yeah.
a bit of sci-fi maybe, something like that, or a bit of fantasy.
Right.
I want it to be a 1 to 2 hour type of game.
Right.
And I want it to have some heft, but not so much heft that I feel ill.
Okay.
All right, so I don't want an Andy Lewis game.
You don't want an Andy Lewis
I want
game.
a Steve Tudor game.
You want a Steve Tudor game, and you want it to have quite a good bit of theme behind it.
Yeah, I fancy something that's gonna, make me go, oh, I like the artwork on this, or and a bit of that kind of, I don't know. I want to be wowed.
You want to be wowed.
What do I need to go and find at the expo?
I think my first tip for you there, Sid, would be to go and check out a game called Beast, which is going to be at the Studio Mid-Hall stand, the number of which I'm just looking up now. And I think this is going to tick a lot of those boxes for you. It is, I think, a richly thematic one versus many fantasy game where one player plays as a huge giant monster, the eponymous Beast, and the other players are playing as monster hunters that have been recruited by the villagers to go and hunt said beast and kill it. So the goal here is that the hunters have all got very different skills. So you're going to have to, it's a hidden movement game, so you're going to have to track and find the beast, try and essentially corner it, but you're going to really have to work together to kill it, because the beast is going to be able to wipe you out on your own quite easily. But you're on a time frame here, because the beast is trying to wander around this landscape, this fantastic board, eating all of the little villagers, and you need to get him or get her, to get the monster, before the beast has killed everybody. And this game, not only does it have this hidden movement and this one versus many aspect, it's all done through drafting, as far as I understand. So you as a player are going to know what cards and what abilities you're going to be passing on to the beast every turn. And I think that's going to make this really interesting, because you're going to have some insight about what the beast is going to be able to do in forthcoming rounds, because you've given them that card. And likewise, the beast is going to know what you're going to be able to do to narrow it down. So it gives you a little bit of foresight. The artwork for this game looks absolutely incredible. It's the Kickstarter has finished. It's been delivered in the last couple of weeks. I'm really excited about this. They are going to have the game there for sale as well as to play, at least the demo of it. And they're also going to be showcasing the first expansion for it, and they're going to be talking about that. So it's the Beast Shattered Isles, which is going to be hitting GameFound later this year. So that's Beast from Studio Mid-Hall, Stall 21169. Strongly recommend that one.
I mean, I'm now following your Hardworks link. That took me directly to the Kickstarter page. Very good of you to do so.
No worries.
And it's Swedish. You know how much I love a game out of Sweden. So you've ticked that box very well. And the artwork is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
It does
if the
look
rest
lovely.
of what you say is true, I'll be heading straight to this stall to find out, because that looks amazing.
I've been seeing this game pop up on a lot of the social medias as people have been receiving it and doing unboxings and talking about. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on their first thoughts and early reviews. But this is a game I definitely want to sit down and play at the expo.
And I do like a game where I can load the deck such that I can really hump myself for my own turn.
Yeah, I think you're going to plenty opportunities to do that.
Yeah,
Liz.
Okay. Oh, you see, my policy of not doing my homework at school is paying off.
Now, I'd heard some reviews of this from a couple of weeks back because I think a lot of Kickstarter backers started to get their copies.
They started to get it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah,
so it's starting to get out there, and I'm hearing some very good things about this game.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh, I wonder what's happening about this game," and saw the notes and saw Rory put it on and went, "Oh, excellent. I will be checking out Beast as well."
Yeah. So, it's definitely worth it. I think it ticks all your boxes, Sid. Playtime is 60 minutes to 2 hours. I don't know what the demo's going to be. I hope they're doing short demos, so you can just get in there and get a feel for it, do a few turns.
Yeah, just a few rounds of how you play in the Beast plays. Because I guess if you've got players playing the Beast, did you say? So you've got one player.
One player is the Beast. Yeah. So it's that. There's going to be obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? Comparisons. That's it. There's going to be comparisons drawn to Fury of Dracula, which is a hidden movement, one versus many game, and of course you're hunting a monster. But Fury of Dracula, I think, is quite dated now. I think this is going to be reinvigorate that corner of the genre.
Yeah, you've got me excited.
There we go.
Definitely.
Steve, what would you like to? What would you like to see? What are you going to go see?
Well, I do. I'm slightly advanced of where Sid is. So Sid is the person who didn't do his homework and gets in trouble, or gets his mate to do it. I'm the person that's done a brief outline and does just enough to get a pass. Whereas you're looking for the A star.
I'm getting the distinction. Yeah,
the C pass here. So there are a few games I'm really looking forward to, and I will mention. I don't know how to bundle two of these games in one because they are really similar in a way, and I know they're not our major, the major kind of remit of what our listeners tend to like. So I know most of our listeners are board game players, but I'm really excited about two different miniatures games.
Right.
And in proper miniatures games, I mean stick and tape. One of them is the most obvious one, and I've been trying to avoid this game for the last 6 years, and that's Warhammer 40,000. Because Warhammer 40,000 10th edition comes out, quotation marks, June.
Right.
And Games Workshop are the biggest sponsor of this year's UK Games Expo. They released 9th edition actually at Expo.
Yeah.
2-3 years ago, it was just before lockdown. It was 8th edition. So it was 8th edition they launched at Expo, and that was the year they just threw money at Games at Expo just so they could launch it at this event.
Yeah.
And
that was their first time, wasn't it?
It was 2019 would have been the first time when they launched 8th edition.
Yeah, and they were really prominent there. I remember there was that chap stood in a suit all weekend.
Yeah. I remember chatting to him. He was a really nice chap.
Really nice. I can't believe he managed to stay so cheerful wearing a 3-piece suit all weekend.
They've said it's released in June, so I have a funny feeling it'll be available to buy at Expo. If it won't, it will definitely be available to demo.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually played Warhammer 40,000 since 6th edition. And I was a bit put off by some of the things I read about 8th and 9th. But this edition, from what I can see, sounds quite interesting.
Okay.
And the way they're promising to do the way the stat lines are going to work all sounds very interesting. The way you're building your armies sounds quite interesting. I mean, the major thing is it's new Terminator models, it's new primary scale Terminator models, and they look absolutely awesome. And I want to hold one in my hand, which I think I'll be able to do at that stand because I'm pretty damn sure they're going to be on that demo table there.
Are they going to have? I had heard a rumor that there's going to be new Tyranids soon as well.
Yes, that's in the same box set.
That's in the same box sets. Because I actually have a 5,000 point Tyranid army that's almost fully painted.
Ooh.
And of course, because they haven't updated the Tyranid models for about, I think it's 25 odd years, because I used to work for them 20 years ago. That's why I've got a 5,000 point Tyranid army.
Maybe you need to look at this then, because this comes with all new Tyranid models.
No, I can't afford to replace my army, Steve.
No, Rory, the question we ask is, can you afford not to when Steve has a shiny new one in front of him?
Anyway, that's not the one. That's the one that's got. I'm going to be interested in it. I'll see if it's there. I need to make a decision whether I'm going to buy it or not, because basically 40K is one of those games I really need to have someone else who's definitely going to play it with me. I've got at least 2 people in our RPG group who are doing murmurs and are quite interested in the combat patrol level. However, the one that's really got me intrigued, and this is the one that might be tucked under my arm and leaving with me, and I know you will be available to demo this because they've already said, is the new Atomic Mass Games Star Wars miniatures game, which is Star Wars Shatterpoint.
I didn't know you were much of a Star Wars fan, Steve.
Did you not? Oh, right, okay.
He hides it very well.
Keep it quite quiet, yeah. So this is a skirmish level miniatures game, kind of based on the Marvel Crisis Protocol rules. It's got bigger miniatures. Now, this is one of the things that...
Oh, I've just seen that, and it's just started drooling about that.
Yeah, they're 40mm miniatures, so they're bigger than the Star Wars Legion miniatures. And you will have, I think, the box set, starter set, comes with like set squads.
Nice.
So you'll have a hero and some support. So the box set comes with Darth Maul and Ahsoka Tano, with her support being Bo-Katan and the rest of Clan Ren. And then Darth Maul's got his Darth Maul's Mandalorians. So Darth Maul's got his Mandalorians as well. It looks like one of these games you're only going to need a handful of models. It comes with terrain in the box. It's going to be a short playtime, about an hour they recommend. It's basically ticking all the boxes for me, this.
And 40mm, just to give me an idea, is what size was the troll that we painted for the painting competition?
Oh, I think he's 75mm.
Okay, so right, how about half the size of that? But yeah, that's...
If you've seen the Marvel Crisis Protocol minis,
which are fantastic. They
yeah.
are nice as well, they are.
So something that has bugged me for a while, and this is ignorance on my part. How does a skirmish game differ to, say, Warhammer? Or are they one and the same thing?
They're different sides of a similar kind of thing, if that makes sense. So they're all tabletop miniatures games, and I define that different to a board game. In the rule I always say is it doesn't need a tape measure.
Yeah,
that's my usual differential. So you're on board. I mean, I probably will talk about a board game later, which really does push against this genre as well. But a miniatures game is usually a board with miniature 3D models that you'll move your things around. So yeah, 40k falls into that, Age of Sigmar falls into that, Infinity falls into that. Skirmish, the difference between skirmish and an army scale game is usually just the number of models. So a game of 40k, even at smaller player count, even if you're playing 40k at the combat patrol, you've got squads of miniatures, and a squad of miniatures moves as one.
Yeah.
Whereas a skirmish game, you're using individual miniatures.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Games Workshop do their own. They've got Kill Team.
They've got Mordheim. They've got Necromunda, Inquisitor. Yeah. They do have a range of these kind of skirmish games.
And it's usually played over a much smaller terrain as well.
Yeah.
A much smaller table. So I think a classic 40k now is 6 foot by 4 foot, going up to possibly 8 foot by 4 foot. Whereas Shatterpoint will be on 3 foot by 3 foot.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a bit more compact, a bit quicker to play.
It's much quicker
more
to play.
Streamlined.
Yeah, and like if you're going to put together a crew for Necromunda or Mordheim or Shatterpoint, you are really going to have to it's going to be maybe a dozen models, absolute tops for your gang or your clan. Night Miniatures do this as well. They've got the Batman and the Harry Potter ones. So there's lots of these type of skirmish games across all those genres, all of those IPs that are going to tick boxes for people.
And you tend to find the rules tend to be maybe not so much streamlined, as actually sometimes a little bit more advanced. Because you've got individual models, you can go into a bit more granularity.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like you'll have obviously Blood Bowl probably is that crossover build, but I remember when I used to play Mordheim, you would have a player and their strength or their dexterity would essentially go up or down. They could pick up injuries if they fell off a building and stuff like that. So that one model, that one character is now slightly better or slightly worse than he was when he started the game, because he progressed over this kind of, potentially over a campaign that you're going to play as well. But no, okay, the Star Wars, I mean, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I do like the idea
of a Harry Potter fan, aren't you?
I'm far more of a Harry Potter fan. But yeah, I do like the idea of some nice 40mm Star Wars miniatures either way. Can I tell you about a game that I'm excited to see?
No, it's all about us.
All right, you go ahead then. You go ahead.
Okay. No, I was actually going to say exactly. I think it's Rory's turn, surely, to give us what is it you want to go and see.
So there's a game that I'll be honest with you, it kind of originally passed me by, and I was attracted by the box art, which is a terrible way to pick. You never judge a book or a game by its cover. But I thought that looks quite interesting, and then I started having a bit more of a look into it. And then I found out it was on Board Game Arena, and I've started playing it, and I've become a little bit addicted to this game. And then it went ahead and won the UK Games Expo Judges Award for Best Abstract Game. So this is Tiwanaku, which is going to be at the sit-down stand, and it's an abstract puzzle game, and it's a mix between Minesweeper and Sudoku, but on crack. So, and it's like I've been playing this, and the box art, it looks really peaceful, and I think it is a very peaceful type game. It's not the type of game that we're going to sit down and play and be calling each other names too much, because the game's going to require you to think so hard you won't be able to have time to call each other names. You're just going to be looking at this board thinking. You won't actually be really slagging each other off as we normally do. So it's a really simple. You've got this grid, and you've got to move around, and you're exploring tiles. And so you'll move a word. Let me start again. It's really hard to explain this game because it's so simple but also weird. You've got a gridded board, columns are rows. And you're going to take turns to explore this region. It's all blank, and you're going to be putting these tiles down. There's going to be sand, earth, grass, and rock tiles. Once those are down, and these come out in this, so this is where the Minesweeper-esque comes into it. They are all in formations of between 1 and 5 tiles big, all contiguous. And the way you score is by trying to keep an even keel of all of these. So if I find 3 stone, I'm only going to score 1 point because it takes the lowest points of all the. So I need to find some stone, some sand, some earth, and some grass to then explore the board. But as you're doing that, you're also going to need to plant crops. And this is where the Sudoku element comes into it. There are crops 1 through 5. Each area will only have 1 of each number. But each crop, so my 1 crop, cannot be adjacent diagonally or orthogonally to any other number 1. So you're trying to work out where the area of rock is, for example. You know it's 5, but you don't know which squares make up the 5. And then you're trying to work out what crops go where. And the more points you score, if you correctly guess the crop, then you get that many points. But if you ever get it wrong, you lose the amount of points that it is. So if I guess a 3 and it turns out to be a 5, I lose 5 points. But if I guess a 3 and I'm correct, I gain 3 points, and I get to keep guessing. And this is all managed, and this is why I want to play the physical version. It's got this really cool little wheel thing. So on this wheel, I have to set my coordinates to be kind of the 5th column in the 3rd row. And then I say, Sid, because you'll have the wheel, because you'll do the coordinates. I say, I think this is a number 3. And you get to open this little window and go, no, Rory, you're wrong. You've just lost 5 points. Or you get to go, Rory, you're a bastard. You're right. And then I get 3 points, and I put my little tokens down. And this wheel is, it actually featured in the Jamie Stegmaier's favourite mechanism, because it's a logic puzzle. This game is a 100% solvable logic puzzle. But how you unlock and how you reach that conclusion of each one is very different. And I think the standard game comes with 20 different scenarios, 20 different puzzles. So it's way more than you could ever possibly try and memorize. So originally, I missed this one, but the more I've looked into it and started playing it, it's great on Board Game Arena, but I really want to sit down and stare someone in the eye or have someone tell me off for trying to do maths. Because right now I'm playing this game, and I'm actually almost tracking and trying to work out, this one could be a 3 or it could be a 5. I need to find out what this one is first. And then it's like this process of elimination to go, no, it's definitely a 5. I want to make sure I get there so I can bag those 5 points before anyone else does. It's brilliant. It really ticks it really scratches that itch for me as an analyst, someone that likes these kind of types of puzzles. I love this game already.
I mean, you're making me want to play it. I'm not going to lie to you. Just the way you've described it, I've just looked at a couple of pictures of it. It does look, as you say, it's one of those games that'd be infuriating, I reckon. I reckon there's probably a few tables that get flipped in this game just because...
Potentially.
Because somebody will speak to you just as you're about to drop the last little bit of logic into your mind, slot into place, and I'll go to pot.
All goes to pot.
And you have to start again.
This game can be played, as I understand it, it can be played solo, so you can just tackle it as like a little solo Sudoku-style puzzle. You can co-op it, you can play it competitively, which I think is the main way to do it. It's just trying to... Because at that point, it almost becomes a race that I've worked something out before you have, and then I need to get to that location before you do so that I can claim it.
And it's presumably, is everybody playing their own board?
No, it's one common board. So depending on the number of players, you've got a number of workers. So you can either explore or what they call divine. So I'm going to explore is move a worker or place a worker on the board. And then divine is I'm going to have a guess that this square I'm in right now needs a 3. If I'm right, I get to keep guessing. If I'm wrong, I lose points and my turn's over. So it's got this really nice little gambling element to it as well. You know, risking it for a chocolate biscuit. Because if I'm right here, if I'm right with this 5, I'm off to a great start. Steve's scratching his beard.
Intriguing. Yeah, well, I'm intrigued by this, and I've got to admit, I'm looking at the pictures on Board Game Geek. Someone is going to have to explain this game in detail to me based on how it looks there. And I have a feeling in a noisy expo hall, I'm going to be a lot of staring at people going, "What?"
I might have to ask, can you just hand me the instructions? And I'll sit there. I'll RTFM myself. Right, now we may begin.
Yeah.
Because, I'm intrigued about how this works. It does look very different to, I would say, almost any other game we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, it's very, very different. I was actually thinking about this and thinking about, when we were recording it. And from what I know of Amanda, I think Amanda might like this.
Yes, I think she will. First I saw that board and saw there's pattern recognition there.
Pattern recognition, yeah.
We're viewing that on Friday then, aren't we? Mm-hmm.
So that's at the sit-down stand, which I don't know what stand number it is. I haven't put my notes. I'm missing a note. Oh, no. I've just lost my distinction.
Knock 10 points off you for that.
You lost that when you let other people cheat your homework, mate. That's when you lost your distinction.
So, I'm going to talk about something that isn't a game.
What?
For a moment. Yes, I know. And it's not even on the notes because I've thrown this at both of you.
Freestyling, right? Okay.
Yeah, right. Now, I would have to apologise to our international listeners a bit here because this is the UK Games Expo episode. And I don't know how many of our international listeners actually listen to this episode. I know we have listeners in America and Canada and all over the world who listen to the regular show. And I don't know how many people listen to this because it's UK based. But I'm now going to talk about tea. So it can be properly British. You're
going to talk about tea.
I feel like we should all stand and salute.
Honey Badger Games, who we have met at numerous conventions. Andy's 40th birthday cake was indeed decorated with D20 jellies from Honey Badger Games. Those who are long-term listeners will know that I had the displeasure of eating a booby-trapped chocolate.
I remember that.
During a demo of their Honey Badger Games actual game. Well, they do gaming-related treats. Mm-hmm. So jellied dice and different types of overcaps of sweets. They are going to be releasing, which is coming to Game Found around about 29th of May, so just before Expo, and this is character class-themed tea blends.
You're having a laugh, really?
I'm not having a laugh at all.
That's brilliant. So I can have a paladin cup of tea?
You can have a paladin cup of tea.
God, of course he'd pick that. What is wrong with you? You're doubling down on the stereotype.
What,
You got in an iced tea cup and saucer, shimmering in gold, and there'd be a radiant halo around you as you sup on the paladin.
I kind of love that you think I'm a paladin, Sid, because
I think you think you're a paladin.
no. I know exactly what class of D&D character I would be if I were a D&D class, and it would not be a paladin. But anyway, I love the fact that you think I do, because that's funny. I would definitely be a rogue. I am a cheating, thieving, lying bastard masquerading as a paladin.
So, Honey Badger Games will be at stand 2116. I'd like to say I've done my homework there, but Catherine from Honey Badger actually sent me a message telling me what stand they're on, so there we go.
I might have to get some of these teas. Unless are they flavoured teas, or are they just different blends of tea?
I don't know.
Well, I might have to find out.
We have to. Well, I'll tell you what. Even if I knew, I'm not going to tell you now. Sid, and wait so you can get to the stand and find out.
I shall pack a teacup.
But get your thermos.
My weak lemon drink.
Lemon drink. So the thing is, with Expo, me and Andy will be surviving on like a constant drip of espresso from the coffee stands there. Because I don't know what it is about Expo, but they always seem to have really good coffee inside the halls.
Yeah.
Which usually means they can't sleep afterwards.
There's that little, what is it, like a little trailer? It's like,
it's
is it like a brass, coppery colour?
Yeah.
Really shiny? Or it is by the time I've had a coffee anyway. It feels like it glows. Go on, Sid. What else are you looking for, mate?
Well, I will be hitting up several of our favourite RPG publishers while I'm at Expo. A couple of reasons. One, I'm hoping that Free League will be bringing along a copy of the new Coriolis book, which I won't be allowed to look at other than the cover, and drew that carefully while Steve just reads the inside of it.
I can tell you that there will be copies of that available to look at, but I believe it won't be available for purchase because the release date is like 2 or 3 days after Expo, which is just really bad timing.
So it's even more of a tease.
Yes, so there is a beautiful tease, and I've already looked at the PDF of it. So yes, I'd flick through and look at the pictures, Sid.
I couldn't. No, I don't want to. I don't want to because I'll see a picture of a Ashoka. Not Ashoka. Yeah, Ashoka. Is that Ashoka? No, it's not Ashoka. What was her name? Red-haired girl. It was Ashoka, wasn't
it?
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
I'll see a picture of her and she'll have changed again, and I might like it this time. I might not like it this time. I don't want to know. I want you to drop that on us.
Didn't you kill her, or did she get away?
We don't know.
I thought. I can't remember what happened.
No, anyway, maybe we did.
Anyway. We have played books 1 to 2 of Coriolis, and when I finished the end of book 2, I was met by complete silence.
Oh, really?
Yes,
like good silence.
It shook them. Good silence. I mean, we finished the campaign, and it was just like silence, because no one knew how to respond to what had just happened at the end of book 2.
It was it was epic. I mean, the really amazing thing is just before that silence and before everything went the way it went, it was frantic. Like, it was chaos was going on. And then it just suddenly, this Steve just dropped this thing, and it was like, oh my God. And everyone just went quiet. And it took us a long time to pick ourselves up after that.
Wow.
So I'm a bit excited about that, Rory. I'm a bit excited to see a book that I could love to open and look through, but I'm not going to. So I'm not even sure why I'm bringing it up, because it's just basically torturing myself in public, isn't it, really? So I'm looking forward to that. I'm pretty sure Free League will also probably have some maybe some Walking Dead stuff on, because that's the other big stuff that's coming out from them in the next wee while. There's another bit of D&D RPG stuff that I think I should mention about Expo this year. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons & Dragons are at the UK Games Expo.
Hi, Future Steve here, just a minor correction. It's not D&D Wizards of the Coast Hasbro that are coming to Expo. It's D&D Beyond. Now, I know that's a minor difference, but I think it's worth pointing out. So, sorry, back to the show.
And they are doing loads of special guests, some learn to play stuff, and get yourself a little taster session of D&D. Luke Gygax is there.
Yeah, I knew Luke Gygax was going to be there. I didn't realise this was part of a Wizard of the Coast thing.
Well, it's all Dungeons and Dragons, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's all connected. So for anybody that wants to kind of dip their toe into a bit of RPGing, there'll be loads of people around to help you. If you've seen the new film or the recent film, and you want to have a bit of a feel for what it is actually like to be Rory as a paladin, because he is a paladin, then drop in on that. I think they're also doing it for very young players.
Okay.
So if I'm there with the boy and the wife, I might well be hitting that up just to help them understand why on earth I hide in a room with 4 or 5 of you guys every once a week and talk nonsense. So there's a few things like that for me, Rory. Modiphius as well. There'll be a few things on the Modiphius stand that I'm looking forward to. There's a few new Star Trek.
Of course.
What do you call them? Books coming out, source material, as well as all the classic Modiphius stuff. So Homeworld, I'm hoping will be there, as well as some new some Fallout stuff as well. So, and Achtung Cthulhu, of course, which is just awesome, and another itch that I really need to scratch. So I might come home with a stack of Cthulhu Nazi-based comics.
Achtung Cthulhu does seem to hit the craziness aspect, which I think is definitely ticking your box.
It really is. I mean, just like, you've got that skirmish kind of urge behind our tabletop miniatures kind of skirmish gaming thing going on. Achtung Cthulhu is one of those things that I just keep walking past, and I almost don't want to pick it up because there's a lot of material in that little part of the world, and it's a big hole to fall into. But if I see it in the flesh, live on a stall, I think I might be having some of that.
Can I tell you about a publisher that I think we should check out?
Go on.
Not a game per se. There's a couple of games here. As a recommendation to us and our listeners, I would strongly recommend going to check out Sinister Fish Games. They're going to be at stand 1578. And the reasons I say this is because Moon, which was a big Kickstarter last year and was nigh on impossible to get a demo of, they will have a limited amount of retail editions to sale. They've had them shipped in because the Kickstarter will be delivered in June, hopefully. So they've got 200 copies shipped in special for the expo. So if you wanted to try Moon and you didn't get on the Kickstarter, this is an opportunity to see what you've missed and maybe pick up a retail copy. But they've also got their next game, which is going to be coming to Kickstarter very soon. I'm not too sure on the date. Wizards & Co. Now, this looks like quite a light game from the artwork, but when I did a little bit of investigation, it's from the same people that bought us Coimbra and Gollum, which are not as light, not light games, really. So I think this is going to be a really interesting game to check out, although I know virtually nothing about it. But from the caliber of the designers and from the caliber of the publishers, and knowing how busy they always are, Wizards & Co. worth a look. Moon, definitely worth a look. If you want to know more about Moon, check out polyhedroncollider.com for a full review. They've also got the expansion for Streets is going to be there as well. And not Streets, Villages and Streets. Yeah, they'll all be there. They're all great games, to be honest. And they're all worth having a look at if you haven't seen them before. You didn't play Moon, did you, Steve?
I didn't play Moon. It was one of those ones, as you said, you couldn't get onto the stand,
Yeah.
and I did back it.
Oh,
I backed it anyway. I backed it after reading your review. I backed it, so obviously trust you there, Roy. So if it's crap, I'm going to blame you entirely.
it's not. I was talking lovingly about it last night in the pub, actually.
So that is on order. So that's one of those things I probably won't look at the expo because I know I'm getting it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, I'm really interested by Wizards & Co. I just want to know more about it, really.
Is it Dave designing it again, or was that a different
No,
designer?
designer by... I'm not going to try pronouncing any of these.
Not Dave designer, sorry. Harkin Garda, because he's designed the last 3 games they've done.
Oh, no, this is from... if you have a look on the bit on the show notes, because I'm not going to try and pronounce those 4 names. They're all very Mediterranean European names that I'm just going to butcher if I try and do it. But it's the same people that I say. They did Coimbra and Gollum and Alma Mater. All well-received games that are apparently all very good. Coimbra's a cracking game, so I'm looking to see what this one is now.
Does actually look very, very different to the last 3 games Sinister Fish have put out.
It does look very different. It looks very different from those games Sinister Fish have done, and it looks different to the games that those designers have done. But it's not saying it's a bad thing. It just looks different. It's in a dungeon. Monsters. Yeah. Sinister Fish, stand 1578.
So, shall I talk about the game I teased a little earlier then? Have either of you heard of the video game Apex Legends?
No.
I have heard of it.
Now, it's a bit of a big deal.
Oh.
Now, personally, I'm not bothered by Apex Legends. I'm actually more bothered by the world it's set in, which is the world of Titanfall, which is an amazing video game which not enough people played. But anyway, Glass Cannon Studios are doing a board game of Apex Legends. Now, these are the people that brought us the Frostpunk game, which came out last year. Now, this is a very well-received game. I should, in all honesty, tell you what I think of Frostpunk, because I own it. However, it is sat in the box for 6 months, untouched, and sooner or later I will get to play it and review it. I think Andy's played it and Andy quite enjoyed it, but we haven't actually gone through it in any detail. But they're bringing this game now. It's coming to GameFound or Kickstarter, I can't remember which, sometime over the next few weeks. It's not going to be able to buy, but it is going to be able to play. It's a 4-player game and it looks a lot like a skirmish game like we were discussing earlier, Sid.
Yeah.
However, this is definitely board game based. So this is going to be based on a grid. The rules are going to be tighter. As far as I can work out, there's rules for cover, there's rules for picking up weapons, there's rules for upgrading your weapons as you play and upgrading your stats. What's really cool about what's going to be happening at Expo, they can have 4 game tables playing this, and for every table will have 4 players on it. So hopefully that means that everyone's going to have a chance to play this.
That's quite a high turnaround.
And they want to get as many, they want as many people doing this as possible to try and get this, build up the rep just before the Kickstarter starts. Is it any good? I don't know. Paul Grogan did a demo of it. It seemed very interesting and didn't catch the entire thing, but catch bits of it. It does look really interesting. So I definitely want to have a play of this.
All right.
And I'm gonna rope one of you two into it because I can't do this on Friday with Amanda because Amanda will show zero interest in this.
I reckon I could give this a punt, Steve. Because like you, I've got very little interest in the kind of Apex Legends video game. But every time I see it, I see little cheeky nods in the artwork that really appeal to me. Like there's a picture of one of the fighter or character people with like a teacup, and I like that. And that's the kind of stuff I want to play. I don't even know if I'm making that up, whether my own brain has just joined weird random stuff together, but I'm sure Apex Legends is some of the promotional artwork is stuff like that. And I'd be up for playing this. I could admit, the way, I know they're just copying the artwork for the video game, but it looks a lot like Infinity, which is also ticking boxes in my brain. But it has a tighter board game experience with a gridded board rather than like tape measures and such. Is it going to be like a competitive PvP or is it a co-op style? It will be PvP, and my understanding is it'll be 4-player against everyone ran for himself, because it's a battle royale style game, like Fortnite and all the other ones. So in the traditional video game, it's every man for himself, and then the arena gets smaller and smaller and smaller as you play. I don't know how that's going to be managed in this, but I get the impression, my understanding is it's 4 people, everyone are out for themselves, shoot the bad guy, shoot each other, off you go. So, pick up power-ups, pick up good stuff, and is it harder?
So I'm getting flavours of adrenaline here.
I would say this looks more like Infinity with board game aspects than Adrenaline. Adrenaline felt very board gamey, if that makes sense. No, very board gamey, it was almost like a Euro game. This looks more like a miniatures game with more boards.
Right, okay.
It's even got 3D terrain
Right.
It's even got little buildings and barricades you can jump onto and run off and that kind of thing.
I am intrigued.
I can imagine this is going to get a lot of buzz because it's going to look good. People are going to walk past this stand and go, "Ooh, what's that?"
Yeah. Four players doing a PvP.
Yeah.
That's going to be quite exciting as well. That's going to make that there's going to be 4 people making a lot of noise, being excited as they play this type of thing, I think, because I'd imagine it's going to be quite fast paced as well.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. I think it's going to have some pace on it, isn't it? It's going to be a bit of volume, a bit of vocalness, a bit of grumpiness, a bit of swearing across the table at each other. Yeah.
So I don't know what stand number that is because again I haven't done my homework like Rory, but it's there and you shouldn't be able to miss it. I wouldn't have thought.
Do you know what? It is such bloody hard work getting stand numbers because the UK Games Expo don't release them. Don't release them until much closer. I'm having to go to the publishers and go, hey, tell me about what games you're bringing, and then they tell me. I was like, can you tell me what stand you're on as well? Because everyone's keeping it a secret from me. Yeah,
I would actually say that it is actually quite difficult putting this podcast together, especially in advance. It's like the later we leave it, the easier it is to do because even UK Games Expo haven't released information yet. Like they haven't released the floor plan, as you said.
No.
They haven't released the program, which tells you who's going to be there. And even then, I mean, in the past, we've looked at the program and seen publishers there, and then you go there on the day and there's an empty stand because for some reason they've not turned up.
Yeah, and then you've got publishers who make announcements about games. I remember CGE last year announced Starship Captains days before the expo. And it's like, well, we've recorded everything. We've done all our correspondences and stuff like that. I've booked all the meetings. It's too late notice now for us to kind of really retcon it and tell our listeners about it as well. Whose turn is it to talk about some games now? Oh, Sid, have you got more games to talk about?
So yeah, Rory, I've got another one. I have done a little bit of work. I mean, I'm a bit one of those quiet people in the corner. I'm lying when I haven't done anything. But there is another little game that I am quite excited about hopefully seeing for real at the expo, and that is Keep on Questing, which is the campaign for Coraquest from Bright Eye Games. So I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, and it's a kind of family-friendly dungeon crawler kind of game. Really, really good fun. And children's artwork in it, all that kind of stuff. It's got all the right stuff for a family to play. And Keep on Questing is the next part of that, which allows you to string all the stories together and grow your characters, level them up, give them all sorts of fancy things. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this one for real, because it's finished on GameFound now, so it's going to be released soon.
Excellent.
So that's they are going to be at stand 1532, Bright Eye Games, and they have actually got an upcoming. We're just saying that they hold publishers holding cards close to their chest. They've got an unannounced upcoming release. So they are going to be making an announcement closer to the expo time. There is a re-release of a game by TMG. So there's a little teaser for you. But there is a new game coming. They've also got The Plot Thickens, which is a storytelling game, which looks quite interesting. So yeah, I love Bright Eye Games. So definitely want to. I'll be with you there to go check those out, especially because you say Coraquest was great for your lad. I think my kids are probably just right to start playing that as well now.
Yeah, no, it's a great game for kids, mate. I mean, I was just I think what's his name, Dan and Cora of Coraquest Frame will also be at the expo this year.
So brilliant.
You can meet the people that are behind it for real.
So, we mentioned just now how we get information late, and again, peek behind the curtain. We got the exhibitors for the press preview email quite literally minutes before we started recording. Right, so this is me as Sid's talking about Coraquest, I'm scanning through this list, okay, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of things because I'm excited. Some of these people are going to be here. Old King's Crown.
Yeah,
from Eerie Idle Games is going to be here. We saw that last expo. I was hoping it would have launched on Kickstarter by now, but we absolutely loved everything we saw about that game. Didn't manage to get a demo. I didn't. I think did you get a demo, Rory?
Andy and I got a demo. It was a really nice little card game.
Yeah, so we loved that. Go check that out, everyone. I want to have a demo of that because I didn't last year. But what's really caught my eye, because I looked for the duration, and so there was a duration with a game with a duration of 300 minutes, and I thought, what the devil's that going to be? So I've opened up an image of Europa Universalis, The Price of Power. And I want to play this game now.
Right.
Because looks like the most bonkers game. I mean, not bonkers game. It looks like a beautiful, historically accurate game of territory and action, but it just looks so bonkers. There's a map of Europe, and I'm not kidding. It looks like, you remember the Game of Thrones? Have you played the Game of Thrones board game?
No, but I know of it.
You haven't. You know of it. And it's got chits on all the locations, right? It's like that, but with 20 times more locations and 400 times more chits. I don't know what it is about this at the moment, but I'm looking at this and thinking, I want to play this game.
Wow. Ooh, that is a big detail.
That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff on that table.
There's a lot of stuff on that table, isn't there? And at first I'm thinking, oh no, I'm mad. Then I'm seeing it's got a BGG score of 9.
And it's got like mini little Napoleons.
It's got a score of 9. How?
I mean, yeah, we got to check this out, Steve.
Playtime 300 minutes. It's a whole day's worth of gaming, isn't it? But I need to have a look at this because this is just getting me excited right now.
Wow. Weight 4.61. Rating
Yeah,
9.
so chunky as hell. Yeah, this will give us all headaches. It'll take us a month to learn the rules.
Well, that's why it takes 300 minutes to play.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I'm in for that one.
A game I'm really excited about, and I think this is probably the game I'm most excited about, and it's been out since January actually, but this is its first con. And the more I look into this game, the more I think I'm just going to buy it now. It was actually someone had it up on the BGG math trade that's just finished, and I was like, oh please, I want this. I want this. But it's Oros from Ash Games, which is going to be at the Lucky Duck stand. So they're 1638. And Oros is this. It looks absolutely stunning. It's a game about building mountains, basically, and then putting temples on top of them. But in this game, you are literally building up the islands and then making mountains on top of them. And this is all done through this like tile sliding. Have you ever played like the kids game Labyrinth? Mm-hmm. It's a little bit like that. When you collide two tiles together, they form, that's like tectonic plates hitting each other, and they create more landmass. Or you can place volcanoes, which then erupt and then create landmass. So you're building up this island or this series of islands to put mountains. And then when you've got a mountain, you can put a temple on it. And then when you've got a temple in there, you put someone who's going to do some research in that temple. But when you do that, your player board, you take these pieces from the player board and you decide what avenue your god that you're essentially researching to and praying to develops, and everybody's god essentially becomes a different asymmetric power. So we all start, as I understand it, with the same abilities, but as the game progresses, we gradually become more and more separate and different to one another as we're racing to build these mountains and then put temples on them. It looks really interesting. The guy who designed it actually won several like board game design awards back in 2020 and 21. It came to Kickstarter in 21. Did really well. It's just started delivering. It looks really quaint. It looks beautiful, and I think it's got a really interesting mechanic. And having watched some videos and read some reviews of this, everyone that has played it has said that it is very different and quite unique. And I'm really excited. It's really tempting to just buy it now because I know I'm going to get it. Right, so Friday morning, I'm just going to walk up to that Lucky Duck stand and I'll have a copy of Oros, please.
But Boom! Slap £10 on the table. No, sir, it's still £40.
£40 at least.
Oh, okay. I usually need to do that. Just slap the money on the table. Bang! Oros.
Oros.
Right, Mr. Lewis is not here. So I've picked a game for him. I've looked through this list.
I'm really hoping this is
Rory.
a joke. But yeah, okay.
No, it's actually genuine. Oh, there's no little My Little Pony's first card game. That would really wind him up. No, I was going to recommend a game for Andy. However, I've just looked for our notes and found out, although the game will be there, it won't be there to demo or actually play in any way or buy. So I'm still going to taunt Andy a little bit and say that Terminus will be at the expo, but they'll only be there to look at. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it's in a glass cage. You can mush his face against it. So this is a Rondel root building game which Vital Lacerda has laid praise upon.
Mm-hmm.
Describing it as a heavy, tight game with a lot of options and filled with difficult decisions. Now, if Vital Lacerda says a game is heavy,
yeah,
this is going to be mind-melting, which is bizarre because according to Board Game Geek, it has a weight of 3, which I think is something. So it's not quite right there. Anyway, this game we're there to view. I think it's worth looking at because if Mr. Lacerda has given it a thumbs up, then it must be something interesting to look at. There is another game which I think me, Sid, and Andy should demo because it has been mentioned on this podcast before by one of our listeners, and Andy has always been on the quest for a whiskey making game.
Yeah. Are you talking about Distilled?
I am talking about Distilled, yes, which is apparently quite high on the hotness at the moment on old BGG.
It is.
And it'll be available for demo and purchase at the expo. Mm-hmm. And I'm intrigued whether this does actually fulfill the wish of a whiskey distilling game or whether it is just something completely different.
I'm going to disappoint you.
Go on.
Whiskey distilling is only a tiny part of this game. It's mostly about other non-whiskey, lesser spirits, as I like to call them.
Gins and vodkas and all that nonsense.
So I had a quick look into this game, and it is. I think there's gonna be obvious comparisons drawn to viticulture. Except I think the big difference here is the recipes that you're going to be mixing things to create different flavors of various different spirits. It does look really interesting. It does look like that middleweight Euro game. Do stuff to do and get more stuff. Make your stuff better.
Well, I think we should play it actually because a few people have asked us why we haven't, and I think regardless of what I think of these lesser spirits, I think there is probably something in it for that as you say, the recipes and the chaining of stuff I think will be quite interesting.
I mean, if it's a decent Euro, it's a decent Euro. I mean, bizarrely, you mentioned viticulture. A few years back, me and Andy had a bit of a brainstorming session about could we make a whiskey distillery Euro game. And we kind of planned it out. Before you do it, it was basically just a rethemed viticulture. And it was just like, well, what's the point? It's just retheming a different game here. It's just exactly the same thing. But yeah. So yeah, we will check that out.
Yeah, another publisher recommendation.
Go on then.
Alley Cat Games. Alley Cat Games, they're a major sponsor.
Yeah.
They're always right at the front.
Yeah.
They always do.
It's always a pain in the ass trying to get a demo because I'm always rammed.
They're always rammed. They've got a great back catalogue of games, plus they've got some new ones. Phantom Inc. is one of their new ones that they're going to have on display, as is Starfighters. I've been fortunate enough to play both of them. Phantom Inc. is absolutely brilliant. There's a review on polyhedroncollider.com. Go check it out. But it is brilliant. Starfighters is probably a really good game. I can't play it though without losing my shit because it's a speed dice game, and it turns out I have absolutely terrible coordination. I do not have very good hand-eye coordination at all, and I'm more likely to accidentally punch my opponent when trying to pick up dice. When the fact that they were conveniently about to destroy my ship is neither here nor there. But it's a really frantic game. That's a lot of fun to play. but it makes me very cross.
Well, I should probably mention another publisher then, which is Board and Dice.
Yes.
Because I always love going to see Board and Dice. They always got something interesting. Now, I believe they're bringing 2 games, as well as their normal back catalogue of games. I believe they are bringing their new game, which is called
Books of Time.
Books of Time.
Designed by our old mate Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully Philip's going to be there because he wasn't there last year and I was most disappointed. I hope, number one, I hope Philip's going to be there. And number 2, he better be in his Pac-Man jacket.
Yes. The best.
I'll be disappointed if he's not.
They'll also be bringing, maybe not to play, but to show off. Maybe Barcelona will be there, which is by Danny Garcia. And this is going to be a heavy Euro game about building Barcelona. It's that Renaissance period. I think it looks, from what little information there is about it, it looks really interesting. Board and Dice, trusted publishers. Danny Garcia also designed Arborea, published by Hachette Games and reviewed on polyhedroncollider.com, and that melted my brain, that game. So this is the next game from Danny Garcia, and I'm excited to see if he can finish melting my brain.
I'm looking at some images of game boards, and this does look like brain melting material. This does look like solid Euro brain melty stuff.
This is right up Andy's street. This is.
Yeah, this is an Andy game through this.
Right, I will see if it's there, and I'd love to see a bit more. They'll also will they have Lagrange? Will they be talking about?
Oh, we don't know,
because that's they're releasing the collector's edition of Lagrange this year, and that's another really heavy Euro game that melted my brain. Also, the original version. But Books of have you seen much about Books of Time?
I have not.
Books of Time is really interesting. It's not a deck builder. It's not a dice builder. It's not a bag builder. It's not one of those. It's a book builder. Believe it or not, you're actually going to be You've actually got this almost little ring-bound folder, and you'll be getting pages and putting them into your book to make up your Book of Time.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Which is pretty cool, and so I like that. I hope it's more than a gimmick. I'm sure it will be, and then how you play after that, I don't know. But it looks really cool. Looks interesting. The artwork looks fantastic. These little ring-bound books look really interesting, and it will probably be along the lines of those kind of deck, bag, dice builders, card builders. But using a book instead, so I don't know how the pages are going to turn. I think they might be in 3s, so you'd have the top, middle, and bottom, and you're going to create a page, and that will do something. Really interested in that. I'd really like to have a little look. I don't know much about it, but it does look interesting. Do you know what I really want to see from Board and Dice? I really hope they've got on their stand In Between, which is an old game, but I've lost my copy of In Between. I have no idea where it is. I think I used to take In Between into work back when I was in the office as part of one of my lunch break games, because you could play it. It was a great 2-player game. You could play over in an hour. And when they shut the office down, they essentially just cleared out everybody's drawers. And I thought I had removed all my games, but I think perhaps maybe I left In Between in my drawer, and it's been thrown away. So I want a copy of In Between, because that's a fantastic game.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Nice little 2-player game, isn't it?
It's a bloody brilliant 2-player game. I've been having arguments recently with people about the best 2-player games, and they keep saying things like Jaipur, and it takes everything I have not to slap them. It's like, play more 2-player games. Hachette are bringing what looks like, at a rough count, 1 million games to the expo. According to this list.
So factual correction. According to this list, we've been given 32 different games.
32 different games, okay.
Which might as well be 1 million.
Yeah, and that's just the new stuff that they're bringing.
It's not all new. It's not all new.
It's not all new, no.
Acropolis is on there,
Acropolis,
for example.
which has won lots of awards now. Polyhedron Collider on the cutting edge of recommending good games. I'm really interested in Tribes of the Wind. Tribes of the Wind looks like a really interesting game. So it's a hand management game, but the cards I can play are based on the card types that you guys have got. So if you've got a fire card, the back of your fire card is red. And if I've got a card in my hand and I want to play it, my player on my left has to have a red, but my player on my right can't have a red for me to be able to play this card and do the thing. And I think that's going to be maybe a little bit like, what's that, Hanabi, the firework game? Hanabi?
Yes.
Thanks.
I don't actually know, because I thought it was, yes, I know what you mean, yes.
Because that's all, you look at the backs of the cards of your opponents.
You show the backs of your cards to your players, don't
so
you?
So it's got that element, and then you're trying to manipulate the board and get certain buildings and certain things in a particular way and get rid of pollution on your board. That game looks really interesting. So does Rahua. I'm probably mispronouncing that. That's a pattern building game. Fortunately, that's on Board Game Arena, so I'm going to try and play that before I go see the physical thing. Oh, what was that other one? Is it Quail? Quali? Qawale?
I'm going to say yes. You pronounce it perfectly.
This looks absolutely brilliant. It's this gorgeous wooden abstract game, 2-player. And you're trying to do it's kind of like a Connect 4 thing going on. But the twist on this game is that you're picking my pieces and you're playing my pieces, and you're trying to not ever get 4 of a kind in a row or in a block together. But there's 4 different types. The wooden pieces, you've got their different heights, shapes. Some of them are hollow, and you're trying not to make...
What?
Yeah, you don't want any of this combination. You don't want 4 of the same size next to each other, or you don't want 4 of the same shape next to each other. If you do, your opponent wins. But you're playing all of my pieces, and I play all of yours.
I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at pictures of this, right? And it's a black board with little lumps on it, and the tokens are not round. They're kind of all odd shapes, and it looks like somebody's making cookies on a baking tin. And that's all I can see now is cookies.
Have I just described a different game by Hachette that's not called this?
So what's this game called?
Quahali.
Quahali or Quail?
Quail. Let's go with Quail.
Quail. I'm looking at a game called Quail. God, Jesus. God, that's
oh, God, they're macarons. It's like little macarons, yeah.
But it looks like a baking tin, doesn't it?
Yeah, upside down baking tin.
I've described a different game.
It's a simple and tactical abstract game where it's about pebbles on a path.
What game have I just described? I'm going to have to look it up. Quattro. I'm thinking of a game called Quattro, which is Quaarto.
Right. Well, Quail or whatever it is does look interesting. It does say it looks like a baking tin with some cookies or macarons on top, which are all different colours, and you move them like you would a Mancala game, so they all move along a bit, and it's whoever has 4 in the row when looking at the board from above.
Right.
So explain Quattro.
Do you know that Quattro came out in 1991? It's just a game that's going to be on the Hachette stand that I think I might just buy because it looks like a great 2-player game.
There we go.
Yeah, I just
cutting edge game in there with
Rory talking about the wrong game. Well, there's one that's just caught my eye actually from Hachette, which is Critical Sanctuary, which from what I can tell is like a mini episodic RPG, narrative RPG.
Okay, hello.
And it looks really, really cool.
Oh, that's some beautiful artwork.
It's beautiful artwork. It's got all the pieces I want in a game, frankly. And it's a nice little bite-sized chunk of a game to play post-tea before you kind of put the boy to bed. And I don't know, there's something about this that's just really caught my attention. And I think that it's like little episodes that you can link together. You can either play against the game or you can play with the GM from what you've seen there. And it's got fantasy violence and I want to see it. I want to have a punt on that.
I do like the art style here because it's Vincent Dutrait who's done the art here, who has also done the art for Tribes of the Wind. I really like that art style. I really like his stuff.
Wow, I mean, I didn't know about this game 2 minutes ago, Sid, and I want to play this now as well.
Yeah.
30-minute RPG game.
Exactly.
9 episodes, 30 minutes each.
Yep.
As you said, beautiful artwork. It's got some dice. It's got some tokens.
Right, let's
It looks really interesting. Yeah, right, ticking the box. I'm on board.
But in short, Hachette had ran a fantastic stand last year as well.
They did.
They had loads of tables that were all really well managed, doing demos of loads of different games. The people they had teaching those demos knew their stuff. They were all friendly. It was great. And I think they're great for a bunch of ranges as well. So whether you're new to the hobby or you're an experienced gamer or you're there with kids, Hachette is definitely a stand to just go check out because they're fantastic.
And I just want to say that wasn't a one-off for Expo last year. They were at Tabletop Scotland last year as well, where I saw Flavian again, and same show, same setup.
Yeah,
brilliant, really, really well hosted stand.
Yeah. Do you know, I've got one more thing, and it's not a board game. It is.
You're at it as well.
Yeah,
now.
I'm at it.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I've got something else that's also not a board game, so go on. Let's see if we got something about the same thing.
I want to talk about Breaking Infinity.
Okay.
So sounds awfully like a board game.
It does sound like a lot like a board game, but this is actually for the first time. The UK Games Expo is team up, and they're actually showing a movie. So Breaking Infinity is this brand new indie sci-fi flick that premiered in March. It looks really interesting, but they're doing it in association with the UK Games Expo. The director and a couple of members of the cast are going to be there for the showing. It's going to be at the Screen 10 in the Cineworld, right next to the expo on a Saturday night. And they're doing a Q&A afterwards. So I don't know much about this film. It's about time travelling.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about time travel. It's a UK indie sci-fi flick. The director and a couple of members of the film are going to be there for a Q&A afterwards. And it's the first time the UK Games Expo has teamed up to start to show a big sci-fi film. So chances are, if you like board games, you probably like sci-fi books and movies. So if you want to be on the cutting edge of a new good film, maybe go check this out. It's a bit different. It's a good sit down as well after you've been on your feet all day.
God, yeah.
But it'll be dark in there and it'll be noisy. It's a cinema, innit?
Yeah. I just realised, I just said, when you've been on your feet all day, sitting down playing board games, why is it my feet hurt so much after an expo when I spend most of the time sitting down?
Well, if you've got too much sitting down, I've found an activity you can do as well.
Have you segued it, Steve?
I've segued it. Games Workshop are going to be doing 40k laser tag.
Sold.
You what now?
Please tell me they're taking over the Bear Grylls exhibit.
That would be awesome if they were, wouldn't it?
Fully themed up.
That'd be a health and safety nightmare, wouldn't it?
Go tell me more, Steve. Tell me more.
So you know that the old traditional laser tag, laser quest, whatever you want to call it. I think laser tag is the non-branded term or the brand they're using. It's that, but rather than just having this generic sci-fi gun, it looks like a las gun or a bolter or an oak shooter.
Nice.
No.
And then all the walls, rather than it just being, we've all been to laser tags where they just paint the walls back and do some random things. All the walls are made to look like the Space Hulk walls from the new
cool.
boarding actions.
Okay, I'm excited.
So I'm watching the video now of the guy running around, and he's basically got a las gun, and they're to scale as well. So it's not like the laser tag, his little piddly rifle. No, they're to scale las guns. So these are freaking huge guns that people are wielding.
That looks cool. Okay, that sounds cool.
Okay, we'll have to try that out.
And while we're talking about non-board game related things, if you are there with kids, Sid, and need a bit of a break, the Viking Village, which is just outside, can't recommend that. If you just need some fresh air and a sit down and a bit of light entertainment, if you're there with your children, even better. The folks that do the Viking Village, it's just fun. It's just good quality fun. And if it's a lovely sunny day, go and get yourself some fresh air and sit down on the grass and be entertained.
Awesome.
I would say as well, I was going to say top tips, but I'm going to say we did have some awesome food last year at the food trucks at the hotel. And just outside the foyer from that last year, they had 4 or 5 food trucks, really good food. It's not cheap, but it's still cheaper than what you get for GNC. Also, if you do, and this is always our top tip, if you are wanting some food and we're going to break from the noise, Resorts World is basically across the lake, and it's about the same distance it is to the hotel, and you've got all the major high street brands there and chains and sit down. And I've found that when we first used to do that, it used to be we were like the only gamers there. Now I go over there and notice that lots of people have cottoned onto this, so it tends to be a bit busier. But yeah, it does mean you can get away from if you're getting a bit overwhelmed by the expo, it's a good place to go.
Another top tip for you guys, right? Bibs.
I mean, I was just going to take an extra T-shirt with me.
That is a list of some of the things we're excited to see that we know about. And that is a big caveat because we can never know what's going to be there and we can never confirm 100% whether something's going to be there. These things often have technical foo-bars where games can't make it, people can't make it. So some of the things we may have mentioned may end up not being there. There may be 101 other things that are even more exciting that we don't know about. I hope there are, because it's always nice to have lots of surprises when you get to the expo. We will, of course, be giving you a rundown of everything we did at the expo shortly into June. But don't forget, we will also be doing our live podcast. That's Saturday, 10 a.m. in the Dice Room, which I think is nice that we've got that room, which is the NEC Piazza 4. So hopefully we'll see as many people as possible there.
I've bought some little fancy microphones and I'm going to be hitting the socials quite hard. So on the Thursday night when we do our press preview, if you've got nothing better to do, keep an eye on Instagram, keep an eye on the Facebook, Polyhedron Collider. There'll be stories and posts of everything we see and we're going to get some first thoughts, immediate reactions from us as we go through. And of course, I'll be posting throughout the day, every day at the expo as well. So if you want to see what we're playing, look there as well.
We'll be there. We'll be wearing our Polyhedron Collider t-shirts. You might even be able to hear our voices from across the hall. Andy's is particularly cutting across a crowd, and you can usually hear it from 4 stands away. So he's the easiest one to spot. Hopefully we'll see you there. We're hoping to all have a great time. Oh, be wary. Apparently there is a rail strike on Saturday, so it's going to be a pain in the ass getting the train there. But hopefully everyone won't have any problems getting to the expo. But until then, happy gaming.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.